Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Obstacle Buster. I'm your host, Warren Wandling. If this is your first time listening or you've been part of our community for a while, thank you for tuning in today. We all have dreams and we have obstacles in our life. And my hope for you is that you overcome your obstacles while you're pursuing your dreams. I have a great guest with me today, Tyler Ford. Tyler entered the real estate field as an agent back in 1990, and then he became an investor. That eventually led him to the mortgage profession, where he was recognized nationally as a top producing mortgage originator and was proud to lead the number one mortgage team in the U.S. Tyler was the number one producing loan officer in the nation at Home Services, a Warren Buffett company, doing business at Long Mortgage in Tucson, Arizona, closing more than 1,500 loans while in the mortgage business, requiring working closely with the listing and selling agents and escrow companies to ensure smooth real estate transactions. That experience, which gave him firsthand knowledge of how to facilitate a smooth closing, still benefits his real estate clients today. In 2007, when the economy turned, he stepped away from the mortgage profession and back into real estate as a realtor and an investor. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me on. I really appreciate it, Warren.
Yeah, likewise. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I know we've known each other for several years.
Yeah, I think I was thinking back. It was probably, we met in 2008, maybe 9. So it's actually been, it seems just yesterday, but it's been, I would say, well over going on 10 years maybe.
Right, that's amazing, right? That it's a decade.
Yep, exactly.
Well, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today on How to Become an Obstacle Buster podcast. We provide different strategies, tips, and resources for sales professionals and entrepreneurs to overcome those obstacles to achieve success. So to start that conversation today, as a licensed realtor, real estate investor with eXp Realty, tell us about your business.
Well, I'm a licensed agent. I actually got my license when I was in college, and right out of college, I bought my first foreclosure, had a couple of rental properties, and I was just hooked on real estate at an early age. But my model's a little bit different than your typical real estate agent. I deal with primarily more on the investment side and buying things for myself. We do a lot of off-market deals, motivated sellers, fix and flips, wholesaling, keeping properties as rentals. And then, I do a little bit on the retail side and eXp Realty, and I think we'll get into that. It's got a really cool model to where you can build a residual income, and the company has a totally different model than any other real estate brokerage in the U.S. So I'm motivated to run a lot of what I do through eXp Realty.
Wow, that's really interesting. So from kind of that experience with real estate and real estate investing, where do you see is the greatest obstacle that your clients encounter?
Well, again, this is a tough question and great question. Again, I wear a lot of different hats, so I've got a lot of different types of clients. So we'll talk about, and customers, we'll talk about one specific category, and that is we do a lot of marketing for what we call motivated sellers. People that are wanting to sell off market, not in the MLS, where they're looking for a quick sale, where they're willing to give up price for speed and convenience. Mm-hmm. But in dealing with this type of seller, a home or real estate, sometimes it becomes a liability to somebody to where it becomes a burden. And so, the obstacles that we encounter with this type of person is they just want to be done with their real estate, and they're looking for an easy, convenient way to get it sold and just relieve them of the stress. So their obstacle is, how can I get rid of this property as quickly as I can for as much money as I can, for speed and convenience, and just making it super, super easy. And that's what we provide.
So what was a key strategy that contributed to your success building your business?
Well, key strategy, again, I think it's just taking action daily, doing the little things. It's the compound effect, Darren Hardy. It's just doing every day, doing a little bit, which eventually adds up to a lot. And setting realistic expectations, not comparing yourselves to others, and just every day taking action. That's contributed to my success. I've had to reinvent myself a couple different times over the years, but it's just pulling myself up and continuing to move forward and taking action is the biggest thing for me.
So that's really good because we focus on HPAs or high path activities. Are there specific action steps that you would recommend our listeners to help them stay focused on the right activity?
Well, again, just recently, I read a really, really good book that I would highly recommend. It's called The Pumpkin Plan. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not, but I'll definitely have to add that to the list.
It's a great book. And one of my things that have gotten me into trouble over the years is I tend to want to do too many things and I wear too many hats. And at the end of the day, I'm doing a lot of things mediocre. And so The Pumpkin Plan, it's a great book and I would highly recommend it. It talks about, the analogy is, how do you grow a huge, huge, huge pumpkin? And the guy that wrote the book, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, he uses a pumpkin as an analogy. If you're trying to, on one vine, grow a bunch of pumpkins, you end up with a bunch of small pumpkins. But as that vine grows, you're continually weeding that vine and focusing in on just one pumpkin, you can grow a huge, huge pumpkin. So, one of the things that I've done and gotten a whole lot better at is just being totally focused on 1 to 2 things and doing those 1 to 2 things really, really well. But in the past, doing too many things has gotten me into trouble where I just, at the end of the day, I'm spinning plates and just being mediocre at a bunch of things.
Well, that's excellent. That sounds like an excellent book.
Yeah, it's an awesome read. I do a lot of my reads on Audible, so it's one that I listen to on Audible, but I would highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Well, excellent. I'll have to add that to my Audible list.
Yeah, it's a great one.
How do you overcome obstacles then on a day-to-day basis?
Well, day-to-day, early on when I was in high school, my dad actually signed me up for the Dale Carnegie class. And in that class, I had to read both of his books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and then how to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And so I always go back to that. Dale Carnegie talks about living in day-tight compartments. And so anytime I've got an obstacle or kind of stressed out or worried, I just focus in on just living day by day and just tackling that one thing and not really worrying about the rest of the thing. So if there's an obstacle, I just, focus in on it and not let the bigger picture overwhelm me. And just, again, like I said at the beginning, just taking action and doing a little bit every day, which eventually ends up to being a lot.
That's some great advice. And certainly from worry. And I know in today's society, with all of the distractions that we're dealing with and the level of anxiety that people are experiencing, I love that recommendation of just to live day by day and not to worry about like the big picture, but just focus on what you control today.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think the biggest obstacles that people have are themselves. So how do you overcome yourself is really, for me, the question, because I'm the one that gets in my own way. So, and stress and anxiety, for me, can get the best of me. And anytime I focus on my faith and I go back to Dale Carnegie and just put those two together and just live day by day.
So you started your career in real estate, and then that kind of led you to the mortgage profession, and you were recognized as nationally as a top producing mortgage originator, leading the #1 mortgage team in the U.S. Can you share with our listeners one tip on how you achieve that level of success?
Oh, again, I was thinking back. This was pre-Facebook, just at the beginning of the internet, and I was in my early 30s, and I was flipping homes at the time and getting financing through a guy that owned a mortgage company, which turned out to be the #1 privately held mortgage company in the country. And through working with him to get long-term financing on some rentals, he said, "You'd be awesome in the mortgage business." So long and short of it, I got involved and started doing mortgages. But quickly became the top producing loan officer here in Tucson, Arizona, which then I got recruited by Home Services, which is a Warren Buffett company, which was a part of the company that I was involved with. They were acquired by Home Services. And so my team was recruited over to run a local branch here, and we became the number one mortgage producing team of all of Home Services. In 1 year, we did over 500 mortgages between myself and my partner. And how I did that is, you got to have a unique selling proposition. And again, this was pre-internet. I put together a little book that was how to buy a home, and it was like these step-by-step guide to buying a home was what it was called. It was very professionally done, very well written. And again, it was before people could just Google stuff. And what I did, I co-branded it with the agents. So the agents would use it in their listing and buying presentations, and it made them look professional. And I put them on it. And by doing that, it was amazing at how many and this goes back to like Bob Berg and some of the people that you've interviewed in terms of like the Go Giver. The question was, what can I give people for free that provides value? And it wasn't about me. It was more about, the agents that I worked with. And the more I gave, the more I got. So it was all about giving and giving and giving. And the more I gave, the more business we got.
Yeah, excellent. You're definitely ahead of the time in reference to that concept and really embracing more of that type of selling to be able to give away, to be able to track the know, like, and trust within your clients.
Yeah, and so we had a moving van. I mean, we had so much value stacked that agents they loved working with us because it was all about what we were going to do for them rather than being all about us.
According to the National Association of Realtors, in an article titled Biggest Challenges for Real Estate Firms Over the Next 2 Years, it was published around March 7th, 2019. The number one challenge for realtors is keeping up with technology. What's one strategy that you can share with our listeners to overcome this obstacle?
Well, again, technology, it's becoming very, very competitive in our space. And there's a lot of technology, and agents that aren't embracing the technology, in my opinion, they're going to really, really struggle. So one of the things that I focused on, and I'm continuing to focus on, and a huge part of what I do is organic SEO. So we create tons and tons of content to generate organic leads. And we're doing a lot of business and volume without any pay-per-click. So it's all organic. So I'm totally invested on the technology side, but it's more about organic SEO and creating content that's city and location specific to generate tons and tons of leads and being ahead of the curve on the internet organically. And that's where my main focus is just organic SEO.
So, and you mentioned great content. So within that SEO process, is there a system that you use, like publishing an article once a day or once a month? Is there a strategy that you use to be able to make sure you have enough content?
Yeah, well, I'm wearing multiple hats. I've got the retail side of real estate where I'm generating leads and then giving those leads to people within the office and then getting a referral fee. But content-wise, and then I'm also on a platform on the investor side. I'm on a platform called Carrot, which is awesome because they create a ton of content that I can push out. But to answer your question, I have a little calendar that I've created, and I'm more of like a once a week kind of guy in terms of really, really good content. So at a minimum, I'm putting out 4 pieces per month. But again, it's the compound effect over time. And if you start to multiply that over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it starts to add up. But organic SEO is a long-term strategy, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight. You've got to be committed to it for the long haul. And I always tell people, put in 12 months of basically lots of work and little to no leads before it really starts to get traction. But as far as the content, I'm consistent with it. At a minimum, it's one really good piece per week.
So you're also a very passionate athlete, and
Mm-hmm.
you're known as the Tucson Cycling Realtor. What's the story behind that name?
Well, again, people want to work with people that they like and trust,
Mm-hmm.
and also people that have similar hobbies and interests. And so, I'm a huge cyclist. I love the outdoors, and if you see me on a bike, I'm wearing my EXP Realty cycling kit, and I do a lot of business on the bike because it's a great place to network, and it's also a tax deduction. So, I would recommend. Yeah, anybody out there, I would tie their hobby or their interest into their business, and it's just a great way. But Tucson Cycling Realtor, it's if you Google Tucson Cycling Realtor, it's more of an SEO strategy, to be honest with you, because people, I get a ton of leads, especially in Arizona in the wintertime where people are traveling. They come to Tucson and they're in awe over the weather, and they want to buy a house, and so they want to work with somebody like-minded, and they'll type in, I want to work with a cycling realtor. So they'll type in Tucson Cycling Realtor, and boom, there I am. So it's more of an organic strategy, organic SEO strategy, to be honest with you. But it works for what I do.
Wow, that's excellent. So I guess your interest, obviously, in cycling has definitely impacted your career then, in reference to from an SEO, but kind of a networking side as well.
Absolutely. In the mortgage business, I did so much business on my bike. It was crazy. It's kind of like, golfers do a lot of business on the golf course. Well, cycling can be a social sport where you're, before, depending on, you're talking to people before things get competitive, but it's a sport where you can go out and talk to people and interact. And also the gear that we get to wear, cycling kits are a moving billboard, unlike a lot of other sports where you get to wear your brand. So it's a great sport to network in.
Yeah, that's a great branding strategy, Tyler. So if there's listeners out there that have a hobby with, certainly from an athletic perspective, where they can make that connection, that's a great tip.
Yeah. So it's worked for me. And even, my wife and I were involved in network marketing and did well there. And we applied a lot of what I'm doing right now is what I learned on the network marketing side when we built a couple big organizations.
If you were sitting across the table from a sales professional or an entrepreneur, what bit of advice would you offer him or her from your experience in launching your number of businesses that you have launched?
Well, first off, take action and just do. A lot of people get paralyzed and have some good ideas and thoughts, and they just get overwhelmed with what it is in terms of what they want to do. And I put a little business plan together, and the first step is just to take action and just start to do one thing at a time and build upon it. The other thing is, keep your expenses low so you can go do those things. A lot of people can't do their dreams and follow their passions just because they're so leveraged that they just can't get out of the day-to-day rat race of what it is they do because they've got to pay the bills. So, I take action and keep your expenses low so you can go do what you want to do.
So Jim Rohn was known as a business philosopher, and he's well known for saying, "We're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." How has this concept impacted your career?
In a huge way. You want to always be leveling up to a higher sphere. And although I've got a lot of friends, I've got a tight network of the ones that are what I call the inner circle. So I think it's really, really important to be selective in who you spend a lot of time with, because Jim Rohn was exactly right in what he said. And, Jim Rohn's somebody that I've listened to and followed for years. And that's one piece of advice that I took in my early 30s, and just always trying to level up to the next person and learn. But again, keep that circle tight in terms of the people that you do let in, so you're not letting the other ones kind of pull you down. Not that you want to be nice and friendly, but I just say keep that circle tight and always try to level up to somebody else that's going to provide value and you can provide value back.
So is there something that you've learned through using that concept, Tyler, of how to keep that circle tight in reference to continuing to level up?
Again, I don't know, just being, that's a good question. For me, I am very selective. It's something that's actually come to me more naturally just because I'm not the type of person, although I'm friendly to a lot of people, I'm more introverted to where I like to spend the quiet time by myself and not let a whole lot of people in. For me, going for a 2-hour bike ride in the morning by myself or with a select, 1 or 2 people rather than a big group, is where I like to spend my time, just because it's the place that I think, and it's kind of my think tank in terms of setting my day up correctly. But if you start your day out with the wrong people or just your head's in the wrong place, it's just your day's not going to go well and you're not going to be productive. So to answer your question, it's a good question. I don't know. I've just kind of always naturally just done it where I've kept it tight. And although I have a lot of friends, I've keep the people that I spend the most time with, it's a very select, 3 or 4 people. And it's just something that I've kind of always just naturally done.
Yeah, it sounds like you have that intuitive sense to know who would be someone that's going to help support your ideas and concepts, that's going to help increase that group to the greatest level that they can grow.
And it doesn't even have to be people that are in your, line of work, or to me, it's about mental attitude. It's the ones that are going to inspire and push you. There's so many people out there that if you tell them something, they're trying to pull you down to their level. So to me, it's more about their mental attitude in terms of being supportive and encouraging and not wanting to pull you down. And I'm the ones that aren't, I don't really share. The other thing too is just, Jim and a lot of other leaders talk about it is, be selective in what you share with who, because there's a lot of people, I don't know what the quote is, you probably, 95% of people out there want to see you fail.
Something like that, probably.
And there's like 2% that want to see you succeed. So I'm pretty selective in who and what I share with, just because I don't want people bringing me down.
So I believe that success leaves clues, and one of those clues are the authors, the books that successful people read. So do you have some authors that have influenced you in your business? You've mentioned a few, obviously, with how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah, I think early on that book has had the biggest impact on me at a young age, and still continues to impact a lot of what I do. So I'm a big fan of Dale Carnegie. I like, and again, a lot of people talk about this book in terms of real estate, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm a big fan of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm also a big fan of Dave Ramsey and keeping expenses down and having no debt. And I'm conservative when it comes to that end of the scale, just because I don't want debt, which then controls you. So, for me, Dale Carnegie, I'd say Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then I listen to a lot of Dave's podcasts in terms of Dave Ramsey and just financial stuff.
So what does the future hold, Tyler? Any special projects that you're working on?
Again, that's always been my downfall, is always having all these projects spinning. So for me, I'm focusing on eXp Realty, because with eXp Realty, it's a cloud broker. We're like the Amazon, the Netflix of real estate brokerage, to where there's no brick and mortar. And as a result, they're able to pay us a lot more money. And they also have what we call, they have revenue share, where as you recruit agents to eXp, you get a portion of the gross commission. So you can build a residual income. And one thing that my decisions are always based around doing things where I'm not exchanging hours for dollars. And so with eXp Realty, you can build and recruit people and then create a residual income. And then as you do business, the company will also you can take a certain portion of your gross commission and buy the stock at a discount to the market. So there's a lot of different cool things about eXp Realty that no other brokerage has, and it's far more than just a commission check. So my big focus right now is just staying focused on the real estate side of things, creating content, doing organic SEO to create leads, to buy homes that we fix and flip, keep properties, some as rentals, build my rental portfolio. So I'm taking the income, putting it into the rental side of things to create the residual, and then also building my eXp rev share to create a residual income, to where ultimately the end goal is have residual income to where I'm not exchanging hours for dollars.
Well, excellent. It sounds like eXp is definitely an interesting model.
Yeah. I mean, right now we are the fastest growing brokerage in the U.S. We're in Canada, the U.S. They've got an aggressive international expansion, but yeah, it is. I mean, and this is one of your questions early on about agents embracing technology. There's a lot of other cool things technology-wise. So on the real estate space, it's becoming very expensive because there's all these ancillary tools that if you don't have them, they're technology-based, that you're really not competitive. And one is what we call an IDX. It stands for Internet Data Exchange, and Zillow's an IDX, to where the MLSs actually push that information out to the public. And so as an agent, having an IDX is like a mortgage payment. And a lot of the agents, they just can't afford it because it's like a car payment or a mortgage payment on a monthly basis. And with eXp, they provide us a free top of the line IDX that's also a lead gen system. So they give us the IDX platform, and then they give us the ability to make more money. So, there's no brick and mortar, and that's really what bogs down real estate companies. It's the overhead of the brick and mortar. So, it's a cool company.
Wow, that sounds exciting.
Yeah. So, it's been good. It's a good mix, and it's right up my alley. So just staying focused on a handful of things, and always trying to be consciously aware not to get involved in too many things that are going to make me start growing mediocre pumpkins.
Exactly. You want that large pumpkin.
Exactly.
So if our listeners wanted to reach out and connect, what's the best way for them to be able to do that?
Just Google Tyler Ford, Tucson, Arizona. My real estate website is Tucson Homes and Lots. And then we've got a handful of other motivated seller investor websites out there that will pop up as well. But Facebook, just Google. But that's my focus has been organic SEO. So they'll have an easy time finding me.
Okay. Well, excellent. Well, I'll make sure some of those links then are in the show notes, just so they will be able to find you as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to share some of your strategies, tips, and resources to help our listeners break through those obstacles to achieve success.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and thanks for connecting with me. And I'm excited to go listen to this podcast and others that you're doing. Keep it up. You're doing a great job.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. It's been a lot of fun. Well,
Yep.
Until next time, this is your host, Warren Wandling, saying, make it a great day.